Hi, everybody. Welcome to the YouTube video for week 8. We're about halfway through the semester. How about that? This week and for the next 4 weeks, we will be working on the argumentative essay. I sent you the assignment sheet for that in email, and I've also posted it on Blackboard. I'll show you where in a few moments. We have we finished personal narrative. Tonight you'll be finishing with summary. So now it's time to move on to the argumentative essay portion of the course. So let me pull up this assignment sheet. Here we go. We're going to be writing about James Baldwin's essay, Talk to Teachers. And we're going to write about it through the lens of Elizabeth Alexander's The Trayvon Generation. The Baldwin essay offers a snapshot, a picture of life in 1963 in America and life for African Americans particularly. And Alexander's essay offers a similar picture of life in America in 2020, just a year ago. So so Baldwin, reading here, he presents a view of the conditions of life for African Americans in 1963. So I've posed 4 questions here, and I don't mean for that to be confusing. These questions are all related. 58 years later, how have those conditions of life changed? What aspects of life for African Americans today have improved since 1963? What aspects have gotten worse? There are several aspects of life that you could write about and use as examples in your paper. I'll just give one as an example. I'd like you to really come up with the ideas for this paper on your own. But for instance, Alexander writes about the media in her essay, and Baldwin also brings that up. So that would be one aspect of life, as I call it, that you could use as an example in your essay. And there are others. For a paper like this will be about a 3.5-page paper. You'll likely have 3 body paragraphs. So you'd like to have 3 examples to support your thesis statement, which we'll get to the thesis statement in a moment. And you want to, I want you to use evidence from both of these essays, all right? From Talk to Teachers and from Trayvon Generation. And it's not, this is not, I don't look at this as, it might sound like a compare and contrast essay, but I don't look at it that way. It's comparing 2 times in the life of America. And we're, as I said, we're looking at 1963 through the lens of Alexander's essay. Okay. Your essay should follow conventions of academic writing. Yes, and I showed you this diagram last week, and it looks very similar to the diagram I showed you for personal narrative. One of the most important differences here is you need to have a strong thesis statement for this essay. It's an argumentative essay. It's a more formal academic essay. And then each of your body paragraphs will support in some way that thesis. Your body paragraph should be unified. So each of these would demonstrate one example that you're using to support your thesis. And then your conclusion, where you'll summarize what you argued, but you want to restate the thesis, but don't just restate it in the same way that you did in the introduction. You want to, I like to say that you present it from a more enlightened perspective, because you've demonstrated why you believe your thesis is true. So now you can restate your thesis in that light. So yes, so your thesis should be original, of course, interesting, well defined, not too broad or too narrow in scope. And I think you're not going to write an exhaustive examination of what life is like in 1963 and in 2020. You can't do that in a 3.5-page paper. But I think you can come up with a workable thesis that responds to these questions, and that would be, at least that would be appropriate for a 3.5-page paper. Okay. You're going to have some different rules with this as opposed to the personal narrative. Whereas I encourage you to use first person in the personal narrative, and I encourage you, or did not discourage you anyway, from using contractions in the personal narrative. This is a more formal paper, so you want to use a third person, okay, he, she, it, etc. And you don't want to use contractions. So rather than it's, don't, won't, isn't, doesn't, whatever. You want to use the expanded forms. It is, do not, will not, is not, etc., etc. I want you to cite evidence from both of these essays that we're using as sources. I want you to use MLA documentation, and we will, I think this Thursday, I'm going to give you an exercise that will give you some practice with creating list of works cited entries. That's something you're going to need to know how to do for 1012. So I'm just going to introduce it to you here in 1010. You want to use MLA formatting for all of your submissions, well, except for the submission in the third week does not have to be strictly in MLA format because it's an outline. But the other 3 assignments for this overall assignment, you should please, I'll use the word must, submit it in MLA format. And I found on a lot of your revisions for the personal narrative, yes, you got the message and you can use an MLA format. Most of you did pretty well. I mean, there were a few minor issues, but most of you did pretty well. I thank you for that. And it's important that you learn that. So I was very happy to see that. And okay, the other thing is you want to make all of your submissions. And in this case, that would include the outline. Please in docx or PDF format. Don't do text box because I can't mark that in Blackboard with using the commenting tools in Blackboard. So please docx or PDF. 1,000 to 1,250 words in length. About, it's going to be, roughly. I mean, all the word processes have word count in them, I think, right? So, but anyway, it'll be about 3 to 3.5 pages, double space. Your reading audience is going to be basically the same as it was for personal narrative. First year composition students, and they have not read these essays, right? Talk to teachers, trade on generation. So give some details so that you're from those essays that your argument makes sense, but don't provide needless details just to get to the word count. Okay, please don't do that. Just provide necessary details. Okay, so let's cover, there are, as I said, there are 4 assignments that are part of the overall assignment here. This week, well, okay, for next Sunday night, you will be writing 1 paragraph, and it's a first draft of your introductory paragraph, and that will include a tentative thesis statement. So you should start thinking about this uh, first assignment this week. I'm not going to give you a required word count, but it should be a paragraph that's sufficient to contain what should be in the introductory paragraph, your hook, your background information, your thesis statement. And this is one of those other writing assignments I have on the syllabus. First draft, that will be a full first draft, about 3.5 pages. That's due on the 24th. And same idea as with the first draft personal narrative. Doesn't have to be a finally polished essay. I'm not going to mark you for grammar and that sort of thing. I mean, yes, I should have a little time. You know what? I'll discuss this on Thursday, because I think I mentioned this one time before. I'm going to try the minimal marking as far as marking your grammar on the first draft. I'll cover that on Thursday, because I want to just do a couple quick examples of thesis statements here. Getting a little short on time. Yes, that's 25% of your argumentative essay. So this is a pretty meaty, between this and especially this, 75%. We're starting to get, these are big chunks of your grade now, you know, so please do these assignments. Your third assignment of the overall assignment is the reverse outline revision plan. And I'm going to give you more on that in the coming weeks. That's another one of the other writing assignments. And then your final revision. This should be a polished essay. I am marking for grammar and usage and style and all that on the final revision, and that counts for 75% of the grade. So that's a big chunk there. That's like 11% of your total grade for the class. All right. So please, keep that in mind as you're doing your work for this class. Now, let's I wanted to do a couple. Let me stop the share here. I wanted to do just a couple of quick examples of thesis statements. Let me, you know what? Let me just pull up. No, you know what? I think I have that in Word. Let's share. Sorry. Yeah, here we go. Yes. Let's go here first. Yes. So I believe I showed this, I believe, last week in YouTube, and these I've already covered. Well, okay, so a thesis statement, once again, let me state it's important. States your position on a topic. Answers a question. I'll get to that in a moment. Complete indicative sentence. Complete, in plain language, a complete sentence. Can be argued. It has to be something that can be argued. You can't just make a statement that's obvious. Okay. And I like this. This is something an old professor of mine said. It gives the reader comfort, because the reader will now know what your paper is about, basically. And here, I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. When you're reading and you're getting ready to write a paper like this, you should be making observations, as we've done, as you do in your annotation assignments. Then one way to approach this is take one of those promising observations, ask a question based on that observation, and then answer. Okay. And then your observation and your answer, that's your thesis. And that will make a strong, will usually make a strong thesis statement. Okay, let me give you a couple examples here. We're running short on time here, but okay, so I'm using text or examples related to texts that we've read. Robert Lake Tom's Indian father's plea is written in the form of a letter. Yes, okay. That's due to stating something. It's a fact. I mean, it might be news to somebody who hasn't read an Indian father's plea, but it's not something you could argue. Okay, so but it's an observation. So then you ask, why? Right? I'm gonna type this here. I wrote this on just a paper. This is one something that a student might think this is why. Because it emphasizes personal nature. Lake Tom's. While at the same time, addressing the soul. This is an example, but it's I kind of like that. So that's your answer to your question why. So I might reword this slightly. I might say that no, it actually is pretty good. So now you would take. Let's just get rid of this here. This actually sounds pretty good, right? Let's do this. Robert Lake Tom's and Indian father's plea is written in the form of a letter. Because it emphasizes the personal nature of Lake Tom's plea while at the same time addressing the soul. And then you would argue that in the body of your essay using evidence from Lake Tom's essay. So this is what I'm talking about. This is something that could be argued. Somebody might say, "Well, I don't really agree with that. I think this about his essay, blah, blah, blah," you know. And then the academic discourse begins, you know. So this is what I'm talking about. You don't want to just state something obvious and say, "Oh, that's my thesis." You want it to be something that's arguable. I see I'm over the time. So, and I you know what I believe I did this example in the previous YouTube, although I don't know if I forget whether I typed it or not. But anyway, watch the previous. Okay, so this is just an example to give you an idea what I'm talking about when I say observation plus answer. Let's stop the share here. All right. So you have today's Sunday. You will have yes, you have your yes, of course, you have your Tuesday work. I don't know if you read my email. I thought of the word yard, YARD, YouTube, meditation, reading, discussion board. It works for me. So you have that for Tuesday, and you will have that every week until Thanksgiving. So please, don't be surprised. It's going to be every Tuesday until Thanksgiving. We don't, normally you would have class twice a week. So we're only having class once a week here. So that's your work for Tuesday. Responses on Wednesday, and I will see you on Thursday. I look forward to your summaries. I'll start taking a look at them tomorrow. And please contact me, any questions. Oh, and sign up for office hours, please. Go to that sign up sheet if you haven't done it already. And I want to meet with each of you at office hours. Email me with any questions, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.